In this video, we're uncovering 7 ultra-rare Kennedy half dollars that could completely change the way you look at your spare change forever. Each one has its own story, its own hidden detail, and its own jaw-dropping value that only a trained eye can spot. So, before you spend another half dollar, or ignore that old collection, make sure you watch till the very end, because the last coin might just be the one that leaves you speechless. Take a close look at this coin, because at first glance, it may seem like just another common half dollar, but what you're holding could be far more valuable than you ever imagined. This is the 1776 to 1976 Bicentennial Kennedy half dollar, a coin created to celebrate 200 years of American independence. But here's where things get interesting. Not all bicentennial halves are created equal, and some, even in extra fine condition like this one, can surprise collectors with their hidden value. Now, let's slow down and really examine what makes this coin special. On the front, you see the familiar portrait of President John F. Kennedy. Strong, detailed, and still showing clear hairlines and facial features. In extra fine condition like your coin, the wear is light, but not enough to erase those important details. You'll notice slight smoothing on the high points, especially the cheek and jawline, but overall, the design remains bold and attractive. Flip it over, and this is where the bicentennial design truly stands out. Instead of the usual eagle, you'll see Independence Hall, a powerful symbol of American history. Look closely at the lines of the building. The sharper they are, the more desirable the coin becomes. Even small details, like the clock tower and windows, can significantly impact value. Now, here comes the part most people completely miss. The real secret behind valuable bicentennial half dollars lies in composition, mint mark, and errors. Some of these coins were struck in 40% silver, not the standard copper nickel clad. If your coin has a slightly brighter, more silvery shine, and lacks that copper stripe on the edge, you could be holding a silver version. And even in extra fine condition, that alone can push its value far beyond face value. But wait, it gets even more exciting. Certain rare mint errors like doubled dies, off-center strikes, or missing clad layers can send the value skyrocketing. Imagine finding a bicentennial half dollar with a strong doubling in the lettering or date. Collectors have paid shocking amounts for such pieces. In typical, extra fine condition, standard bicentennial half dollar might be worth just a few dollars. Maybe $5 to $15, depending on appeal. But if it's silver, now, you're stepping into the $20 to $60 range. And that's just the beginning. Here's the wow factor. If your coin happens to be a rare error variety, or shows exceptional detail close to uncirculated quality, values can jump dramatically. Some rare high-grade or error bicentennial halves have been known to climb into the thousands. And under the right circumstances, especially with unique minting errors, collectors have pushed values into the tens of thousands, even approaching that unbelievable $450,000 plus range for one-of-a-kind specimens. Let that sink in for a moment. A coin that many people overlook could be a life-changing discovery. So, what should you look for right now? Check the edge. Is there copper showing, or is it solid silver? Look for a mint mark under Kennedy's neck. A small S could indicate a special strike. Examine the lettering closely. Do you see doubling? Any unusual shifts in design? These tiny details could mean everything. And most importantly, never judge a coin too quickly. Even in extra fine condition like yours, hidden value can still be there, waiting to be discovered. Now, before we move on to the next coin, ask yourself this. How many of these have passed through your hands without a second look? Because coming up next, the next Kennedy half dollar might make this one look ordinary. And trust me, you don't want to miss it. Go ahead, send me the next coin. Now, this one. This is where things start to get really interesting. At first glance, a 1967 Kennedy half dollar in fine condition might not seem like anything special. It's worn, you can see it clearly. The high points on Kennedy's hair are smoothed down. The cheek and jaw have lost some sharpness. And on the reverse, the eagle's feathers are no longer crisp. This is exactly what we expect from a coin graded as fine, honest circulation, years of use, a story in every scratch. But don't let that wear fool you, because 1967 is not just any year. This coin comes from a very unique period in US history, a time when silver was disappearing from everyday coins. And here's the key detail most people overlook: the 1967 Kennedy half dollar was struck with 40% silver content. That means even in worn condition, even in fine like this, it already carries intrinsic value just from the silver alone. Pause for a second and think about that. A coin that looks ordinary, has real silver inside it, even today, that alone can push its value into the $8 to $20 range, depending on silver prices. Not bad for something many people would spend without thinking twice. But now, let's go deeper, because this is where the real excitement begins. 1967 coins were produced during a time when the US Mint removed mint marks entirely. That means no D, no S, nothing under Kennedy's neck. This was done to stop collectors from hoarding coins. But ironically, it created a perfect environment for unnoticed errors to slip through. And those errors are where the money is. Imagine spotting a doubled die on the lettering, where Liberty or In God We Trust shows a shadow like doubling, or finding an off-center strike where the design is slightly shifted. Even more rare, a clipped planchet or a coin struck on the wrong metal. These are not just minor flaws. These are collector magnets. In fine condition, 1967 half dollars stay modest in value, maybe $10, $15, sometimes $25 if the coin has strong eye appeal. But the moment you introduce a visible error, everything changes. Collectors have paid hundreds, even thousands, for 1967 error coins even when they are worn. Now, here comes the wow factor. If a 1967 Kennedy half dollar is discovered with a dramatic mint error, something bold, obvious, and rare, values can skyrocket beyond what most people think is possible. We're talking 5 figures, sometimes pushing into 6-figure territory for the most extreme. One-of-a-kind pieces. Yes, even a worn coin like this could be hiding a life-changing surprise. So here's what you need to do right now. Take a closer look at your coin. Tilt it under light. Check the lettering carefully. Look at the edges of the design. Do you see anything unusual? Anything that looks off or different from a normal coin? Because sometimes, the smallest detail is the difference between a $10 coin and something worth tens of thousands. And here's the real question. How many times have coins like this passed through your hands without you ever stopping to look? Because coming up next, we're stepping into a Kennedy half dollar that collectors go absolutely crazy for, and the value jump might just shock you even more. If you're enjoying this journey into hidden treasures, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because it only gets better from now. Send me the next coin. Now, this one. This is where many collectors make a huge mistake. A 1984 Kennedy half dollar in extra fine condition often gets ignored. People look at the date, see that it's more modern, and assume it has little to no value. But what if I told you, this exact type of coin has surprised collectors over and over again? Take a closer look at your coin. In extra fine condition, like yours, the details are still very much alive. Kennedy's hair, while slightly worn, still shows strong separation in the strands. The cheek and jawline are smooth, but not flat. You can still feel the sharpness when you tilt it under light. That's important, because collectors pay attention to how much life is left in the design. Now flip it over. The presidential seal on the reverse. The eagle. The shield. The arrows. Even in extra fine condition, you should still see decent feather detail. Not razor sharp, but clearly defined. And here's where things begin to shift. Because 1984 is not about silver unlike the 1960s coins. This one is copper nickel clad. So at first, it seems less exciting. No silver content. No immediate melt value. But this is exactly why people miss the real opportunity. The true value of a 1984 Kennedy half dollar lies in condition, rarity, and more importantly, mint errors. Here's something most people don't realize: by the 1980s, fewer half dollars were being used in everyday circulation. That means many coins were stored, handled less, and sometimes struck with inconsistencies that went unnoticed for years. Now imagine this. A coin like yours, in extra fine condition, could still hide a subtle but powerful error. Look closely at the date, 1984. Do you see any doubling? Check the word liberty. Any slight shadowing or thickness in the letters? These are signs of a double die, and even minor doubling can multiply the value instantly. Then there are off-center strikes, where part of the design is shifted, or die cracks, thin raised lines running across the surface. Even something like a weak strike in certain areas can grab a collector's attention. It's unusual enough. In normal extra fine condition, a 1984 Kennedy half dollar might only bring in $2 to $5, maybe a bit more to the right buyer. But now comes the shock. If your coin shows a clear, collectible error, especially something rare and well-defined, values can jump into the hundreds, then thousands. And in extreme cases, where the error is dramatic and unique, collectors have pushed prices into the tens of thousands, even climbing toward that jaw-dropping six-figure range. Yes, a coin most people overlook could quietly be worth a fortune. And here's the key difference with this one. Because it's not expected to be valuable, fewer people check it carefully. That means rare varieties can stay hidden for decades, waiting for someone with the sharp eye to finally notice. So don't rush past this coin. Take your time. Use good lighting. Tilt it slowly. Look at every letter, every number, every edge. Ask yourself, does anything look unusual? Anything slightly off? Because that tiny detail could change everything, and just when you think you've seen it all. The next coin we're about to uncover takes things to a whole new level with a story and value that might completely surprise you. Make sure you stay with me, and if you haven't already, subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because these hidden treasures are only getting more exciting. Now, let's see the next coin. Now hold on. This coin right here. This is where things start to take a serious turn. A 1968 Kennedy half dollar in fine condition. May look worn, simple, even ordinary at first glance. You can see the circulation clearly. Kennedy's hair is flattened, the cheek is smooth, and the finer details have faded with time. On the reverse, the eagle's feathers are no longer sharp, and the overall design has that soft, aged appearance. But don't let that fool you, because 1968 is a year collectors watch very closely. Why? Because this coin marks something important. It was the first year the U.S. Mint brought back mint marks after removing them in the mid-1960s. That means your coin could carry a small but powerful detail under Kennedy's neck, either a D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. And that tiny letter can change everything. Here's where it gets exciting. If your 1968 coin has an S mint mark, there's a chance it could be part of a special strike, often made with better detail and care. Even in fine condition, that connection alone makes collectors pay closer attention. But we're just getting started. Like the 1967, this coin still contains 40% silver. Yes, even in this worn state, you're still holding a coin with real silver value inside it. That alone gives it a base value, usually somewhere between $8 and $25 depending on the market. Not bad, but nowhere near the full story, because the real power of a 1968 Kennedy half dollar lies in what most people never check. Errors. Look closely at the date, 1968. Do you notice any doubling? Any slight shadow effect around the numbers? Now check liberty, and in God we trust. Even a small doubling can turn this from a basic coin into something collectors actively hunt. And then there's something even more interesting. Some 1968 coins, especially from San Francisco, have been found with proof-like surfaces, unusual finishes, or striking irregularities. These aren't easy to spot, but when they are discovered, they can bring serious money. Now imagine this. A worn coin, like yours, sitting unnoticed for decades, suddenly reveals a rare mint error under the right light. That's when everything changes. In standard fine condition, most 1968 Kennedy half dollars stay in that $10 to $30 range. Maybe a bit higher for silver value and eye appeal, but introduce a clear error, a strong doubled die, an off-center strike, or a unique surface anomaly, and now you're stepping into hundreds, even thousands of dollars, and here comes that wow moment. For the rarest, most dramatic error examples, especially those verified and graded collectors, have been known to push values into the high five figures, even approaching that unbelievable six-figure territory. Yes, even a coin that looks like this could be hiding something extraordinary. So here's what you need to do right now. Check for that mint mark. Look under the neck. Is it a D or an S? Then examine every detail. Use a light. Tilt the coin. Study the edges of the letters and numbers, because in coins like this, the smallest detail can mean the biggest difference. And just when you think you've seen enough, the next coin we're about to uncover carries a reputation that has shocked collectors time and time again. If you're enjoying this journey, don't forget to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because the next one might just be the coin everyone wishes they had. Now, send me the next coin. Now, this coin. This is where things start to get truly unpredictable. A 1980 Kennedy half dollar, especially when you have it in both fine and extra fine to almost new condition, gives us something very powerful. A chance to compare, and sometimes that comparison reveals hidden value most people completely miss. Let's start with the fine condition. At this level, the coin has clearly seen circulation. Kennedy's hair is worn down, the cheek is smooth, and the sharpness is mostly gone. On the reverse, the eagle looks softer, with less detail in the feathers and shield. It's the kind of coin people overlook every single day, and often spend without a second thought. Now shift your attention to the extra fine, almost new condition coin. Immediately, you'll notice the difference. The hairlines are stronger. The jawline is more defined. The fields, those flat surfaces, still have a cleaner look. Maybe even a slight shine when you tilt it under light. The reverse shows more feather detail, and the overall appearance feels much closer to an uncirculated coin. And right here is where the story changes, because 1980 Kennedy half dollars are not about silver. They're about preservation, rarity in higher grades, and most importantly, errors. Here's something many people don't realize. By 1980, half dollars were no longer widely used in everyday transactions. That means fewer coins were heavily circulated, but also fewer people paid attention to them. They sat in rolls, jars, drawers, untouched for years, and when coins sit unnoticed, rare varieties stay hid. Now imagine this. A nearly uncirculated 1980 coin, with full detail, suddenly reveals something unusual. Maybe the word liberty looks slightly doubled. Maybe the date 1980 has a faint shadow effect. Or perhaps there's a die crack running across the surface, a raised line that shouldn't be there. These are not just small details. These are the kinds of features collectors chase. In fine condition, a 1980 half dollar might only be worth $2 to $4. In extra fine or near new condition, maybe $5 to $15, depending on eye appeal, but that's only the surface value, because the moment you introduce a strong error or an exceptional strike, everything changes. Coins with visible doubled dies, off-center strikes, or missing clad layers have stunned collectors before. And here's the part that catches people off guard. Even modern coins like this, when found in near-perfect condition with a rare minting mistake, can explode in value. We're talking hundreds, then thousands, and in rare, dramatic cases, especially if the coin is graded at the highest levels, values have climbed into the tens of thousands, even pushing toward that shocking six-figure range. Yes, a 1980 coin, something most people would never look at twice, could be hiding a story worth a fortune. And when you compare your fine coin to your extra fine one, you start to understand something important. Condition matters. The closer a coin gets to uncirculated, the more collectors pay attention, the more they look, and the higher the potential value climbs, especially if an error is involved. So, here's what you should do right now. Take your better condition coin, Hold it under a bright light. Slowly tilt it. Look at the lettering, the date, the edges, the surface. Compare it with the more worn one. Do you see anything different? Anything unusual? Because sometimes, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is just one small detail. And now, we're about to move into a coin that has shocked even experienced collectors, a Kennedy half dollar that has a reputation for surprising value in ways you wouldn't expect. Stay with me, and if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next coin might just be the one that changes everything. Now, let's see the next coin. Now, this coin. This is where things take a surprising twist. A 1971 Kennedy half dollar, especially one that looks almost new in extra fine condition, is the kind of coin many people underestimate. It doesn't have the silver of the 1960s. It's not a special commemorative like the Bicentennial, and because of that, it often gets ignored. But that's exactly why this coin can be dangerous to overlook. Take a close look at yours. Right away, you'll notice something different compared to the older, worn coins. Kennedy's hair still shows strong detail. The lines are visible. The cheek and jawline are smooth, but not flat. There's still life in the coin. When you tilt it under light, you may even catch a soft shine across the surface, a sign that it hasn't spent much time in heavy circulation. Flip it over, and the eagle tells the same story. The feathers are more defined, the shield lines are clearer, and the overall design feels stronger. This is what collectors look for, a coin that has survived the years without losing its identity. But here's where the story really begins. 1971 was the first year Kennedy half dollars were made without any silver for circulation. That means your coin is copper nickel clad. And because of that, most people assume it has very little value. And that assumption is where the opportunity lies. Because when silver disappears, collectors shift their focus to something else. Errors and high-grade condition. Now imagine this. A 1971 coin that looks nearly uncirculated, with sharp details, clean surfaces, and then, something unusual appears. Maybe the word Liberty shows doubling. Maybe the date 1971 is slightly thicker than it should. Or perhaps there's a strike issue, a part of the design that didn't form correctly. These small details can turn a common coin into a collector's dream. And here's something very few people know. The 1971 Kennedy half dollar is known for doubled die varieties. Some of these are subtle, but others are strong enough to catch the eye, and when they do, collectors pay serious money for them. In standard extra fine condition, a 1971 half dollar might be worth $3 to $10, maybe a bit more if it has great eye appeal. But now comes the shock. If your coin is close to uncirculated, with strong detail, and especially if it shows a clear doubled die or another rare error, values can jump into the hundreds, then thousands. And for the most dramatic, high-grade error coins, collectors have pushed prices into the tens of thousands, even approaching that unbelievable six-figure level. Yes, a coin that many people ignore could be sitting right on the edge of something extraordinary. And here's what makes this even more exciting. Because 1971 was the first clad year, fewer people were carefully checking these coins back then. That means rare varieties had a chance to slip through unnoticed and stay hidden for decades. So here's what you need to do right now. Look closely at the date. Examine the lettering. Tilt the coin slowly under light. Compare both sides. Do you see anything unusual? Anything slightly off? Because in coins like this, it's not about what everyone sees. It's about what almost everyone misses. And now, we're down to one of the final coins in this journey. And trust me, this next Kennedy half dollar has shocked collectors in ways you wouldn't believe. If you've made it this far, you're already ahead of most people. And if you're enjoying uncovering these hidden treasures, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries. Because the final reveal might just be the most unbelievable of all. Send me the last coin. Now this is it. The final coin. And trust me, this one has a way of shocking even the most experienced collectors. A 1989 Kennedy half dollar. especially when you have it in both fine and extra fine to almost new condition. Might seem like the most ordinary coin in this entire lineup. No silver, no famous historical transition, nothing that immediately stands out. And that's exactly why this coin can be the most dangerous to ignore. Let's start with the fine condition. You can see the wear right away. Kennedy's hair is flattened, the cheek is smooth, and the sharp detail is mostly gone. On the reverse, the eagle looks soft, with less definition in the feathers and shield. It's a coin that has done its time in circulation, passed from hand to hand, and most people would never give it a second look. Now compare that to your extra fine, almost new condition coin. This is where things change. The details come back to life. The hairlines are visible. The jawline is stronger. The surfaces may still carry a light sheen when you tilt the coin. On the reverse, the eagle shows more structure, more presence. This is the kind of condition that starts to catch a collector's eye, especially for a modern coin like 1989. But here's where the real story begins. By 1989, Kennedy half dollars were barely used in everyday transactions. Most of them were stored away in rolls, bank vaults, or private collections. That means fewer were heavily circulated, but also fewer were carefully examined. And when coins go unnoticed, rare errors can sit hidden for decades. Now imagine this: a clean, high-grade 1989 coin, nearly untouched, suddenly reveals something unusual. Maybe the date 1989 shows doubling. Maybe the word liberty has a slight shadow effect. Or there's a die crack, a thin raised line stretching across the surface. These aren't just small imperfections. These are the details that can completely transform value. In fine condition, 1989 Kennedy half dollar might be worth just $2 to $4. In extra fine or near new condition, maybe $5 to $15. Sometimes a bit more for strong eye appeal. But that's just the surface. Because once a collector spots something rare, a double die, an off-center strike, a wrong planchet, or a dramatic mint error, the value doesn't just increase, it explodes. Coins like this have surprised the market before. A seemingly ordinary modern half dollar, suddenly selling for hundreds, then thousands. And in rare, extreme cases, especially when the coin is in near perfect condition with a bold, undeniable error, values have climbed into the tens of thousands, even pushing toward that unbelievable six-figure level. Yes, even a 1989 coin, one of the most overlooked dates, could be hiding something extraordinary. And here's what makes this the perfect final coin. It represents the idea that value isn't always where you expect it. It's not always the oldest coin, or the shiniest, or the one with silver. Sometimes, it's the one everyone ignores. So here's what you should do right now. Take your best condition 1989 coin. Hold it under a bright light. Tilt it slowly. Study every detail. The date, the lettering, the edges, the surfaces. Then compare it with your worn coin. Do you see anything different? Anything unusual? Because that small difference could mean everything. And as we come to the end of this journey, think about this. How many Kennedy half dollars have passed through your hands over the years, without you ever stopping to look? Because hidden among them could be a coin worth for more than you ever imagined. If this video opened your eyes even a little, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because there are still countless hidden treasures out there, waiting to be discovered. And who knows? The next one might already be in your pocket.